The murder of a black teenager at a London bus stop in the early 90s was the catalyst for change in race relations, particularly between the police and members of Britain's African and Caribbean communities. A public inquiry into the way police handled the case, both in the immediate response to the stabbing and in the time following, was damning, stating that the Metropolitan Police were institutionally racist and failed to investigate Lawrence's murder properly because they were hostile to London's black communities. So how far have things since come? Well, Superintendent Leroy Logan, founder, member and past chair of the Metropolitan Black Police Association, joins us. Now, the Macpherson report is perhaps the best known result of the case. What impact did the murder have on police forces across the country?
Well, I mean, the immediate impact that we saw of the actual murder case of Stephen Lawrence was quite defensive. It wasn't an open and transparent process. It's the inquiry in '98 where myself and two other colleagues from the Black Police Association said the organisation was institutionally racist. And that led to the formulations of family liaison officers, community safety units to do with hate crimes, the Race Relations Amendment Act, and even the Independent Police Complaints Commission. All these things emerged from the recommendations. But the key thing, I believe, was the Home Secretary's steering group that I sat on as the first chair of the National Black Police Association, where those recommendations were being driven by the Home Secretary to hold chief officers to account and to assure that race and equality issues were on the agenda. Unfortunately, time passed and they slipped off, but I would like to think this recent result of the convictions and sentencing of those two suspects is a wake-up call for things to improve.
How far have relationships between the police and ethnic minority communities across the country come since this report?
Well, again, the government lead did make some massive inroads around independent advisors group, making sure we have indicators around working with communities around community tension. But unfortunately, when the Labour government, through David Blunkett et al., right through to Jackie Smith, decided to dissolve the Lawrence Steering Group, and they actually said that institutional racism term was not helpful, which was reiterated by the past Commissioner, Paul Stevens. It made it took the eye off the ball. You know, people dropped the ball in terms of race and equality issues. And we start to see service delivery being affected in terms of stop and search to disproportionality, where a young black man is 5 to 8 times more likely to be stopped if he's black than his white colleague, those white counterparts. We saw the DNA database heavily populated with 80% of BME people on the database, counter-terrorism, stop and searches, all the charge and custody records in the wider justice system shows disproportionality. So, if these things are not being measured, they're not going to be done. If you leave it to mainstream, then it relies on personalities, not processes and practices. So we in the Black Police Association would like to see the Home Secretary picking up the elements of the Stephen Lawrence Steering Group and driving these race equality issues, because things are not getting better. And let me close by saying that we in the BPA have a leadership program called Voice of the Youth and Genuine Empowerment. We've been running that for the last 10 years, since 2001. And I do the Trust and Confidence module for the 100-hour program. Since 2001 to this current time, every time I do that module, the young people who are a cross-section of young people right across London, predominantly black and minority ethnic, say that they cannot, they have no trust and confidence in police, in the way they're being handled, the way in which, the rudeness of officers. And, we're trying to tell them about the rights and responsibilities, but they've got this real lack of trust. And
does that surprise you at all?
It surprised me that after, that defining moment of the Lawrence inquiry, and things were improving, that it's now slipped as bad as it is. And, I'm not condoning crime. I would never say it's the primary cause for any riots, but I can't discount the possibility that the tension between young people and police is a contributory factor to the August riots. And I think the London School of Economics report made that very same point.